it. It'll be fine.
So you lied then.
Aye, it was one of the ones.
It's a great story, that one.
So, welcome back. This is a Business Babble session 2. And we're going to get straight into this here.
Yeah.
This is more about planning your sort of route to market. And a big part of that is your suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, who are going to be your suppliers? What's your thoughts on that?
So I think suppliers are very strategic to your business. They're part of your route to market because you have to buy products from them and sell it on to your customers.
For a profit?
For a profit, of course. And I think one of the things that you need to do is you need to make sure that your suppliers view you not as transactional, but more in a relationship. So an indication for me would be every quarter they sit down with you, they listen to what you have to say, and they give you advice and say, you know, we see that in your industry or your competitors are doing X, Y, and Z, because it gives you an insight. And that tells me if they value me strategically or not. I think when I look at suppliers, it's not just all about price. I think price is an important decision-making factor, but it's not all about price. For me, it's about quality. It's about efficiency. And do they really want to see me succeed?
Yeah.
Because I'm a customer to them. How do they treat me?
Exactly. But that your customer, if they can get you busier, then they're going to get more business from you as well. So there's good insight there from, obviously they'll know a bit more. You're just starting off in your journey. They've got a lot more behind them, a lot more research. They've got a bit of finger on the pulse as to what's going on in the market. And they can certainly pass some of that knowledge on to you and help you out. What about yourself, Johnny? You've got quite a few suppliers.
I do. But just back on what you were just saying there, a good supplier is someone willing to help you, especially when you've just started your business. They'll see that opportunity. They should be saying to themselves, right, fresh meat, what can I help them with? Because they might excel and I want them to remember me.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's a really sign of a great supplier. But we have several suppliers, and we don't just do it on cost. Yes, you want to be cost effective. However, you want to build that relationship with a supplier or a few suppliers, because you have to measure them on the ability to be efficient, to pick up the phone when they said they're going to pick up the phone, to be reactive and proactive, and also for that accountability. If something comes damaged, something's delayed, how quickly can they find the solution that best serves you as the customer? Because ultimately we have a customer and our job is to look after them. So they need to look after us. So yes, it's all great getting a cheap price, but sometimes you have to pay a little bit more for a better service, and I've got no problems with that. And I think that's a good tip for any new business coming in.
They have to have your back,
100%.
So if something does go wrong, you know that they're going to do what they can to turn that around as quick as possible, because the customer doesn't care that you're getting that supplied by somebody else. You're the man on the ground there, depending obviously what your business is there, but they're going to look to you to get that problem solved as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And the quickest way that's going to get solved is if your supplier sorts that out for you.
This is one thing I just want to just to go on this as well. I've heard this from other businesses, from clients' point of view, once I've left them, there was a problem, but they just kept passing it back to us. There's a problem, I can't do nothing about it. That is absolutely terrible service.
Yeah.
You need to show them that you're trying like a bear to go around anything, be like the old quote, be like water, find a way around it.
Yeah. I think that's where your suppliers really need to be strategic. And I would say don't just have one supplier. I would say let's look at 2 or 3 suppliers. And in the beginning, it's very difficult because how do you build a relationship if you're giving a little bit to each one of them? But if you could find a solution where you give each supplier enough work and they treat you more strategically, that's probably put you in a lot stronger position than where you are, because accountability is key for me. And it's not when everything goes well. It's when a mistake happens. Are they proactive? Are they reactive?
Yep.
Do they blame?
Exactly.
Or do they find solutions? And that's what you want to surround yourself around. And that's something you only find out in your relationship with that supplier. Where do they rank? And I would say that's probably one of the things I would do is I would score my suppliers. I would say this is, for lack of a better word, a AAA supplier, this is a AA supplier, and this is an A supplier. So I always go to my AAAs, but I know that when they have stock shortages, I can drop down to an A.
That's a good point.
Or a AA. Just so for myself, more than for anything, and I would write that down. I would really put that just on a notepad, because one day I am going to employ somebody, and they need to know why I deal with certain suppliers. Because when it's just me, it's easy. It's all in my head. And this is probably the point of writing down who your suppliers are and having a little bit of a journal of why you deal with them, why you score them in a certain way. And I would evaluate them. I would really evaluate my suppliers once a year to make sure that I'm still getting the best possible price. I'm getting the service that I deserve, and that they see me as an integral part of their business, not just as another number to sell something to.
And it's good to have, I think, a few suppliers in the sense that, you know, things can happen where you start to lose some of the suppliers. They, you know, they stop trading or they diversify into different things, and it's not now what you need. Like we had locally, there was a timber merchant that was always going to be retiring, and he was about 150 years old. And you used to go in, he'd be sleeping at the desk, like literally shouting at him to wake him up. But they did a lot of bespoke stuff for you, you know, that if you needed a set of stairs made or something, you know, just anything like that, as well as just your supplier. But he's now has retired, and it's all houses now. But that's a big gap now, and for there's trades here, because you're really having to go a bit further afield now to get somebody like that.
You're so right, because very often when you have 3 or 4 strategic suppliers and you don't keep an eye on them, 4 becomes 3, 3 becomes 2. Before you know it, 2 becomes 1.
Yep.
And then when you have one supplier, you actually have a problem.
Yep, you do,
because he dictates your terms of business. He dictates what happens and what doesn't happen. And you're then in a position of weakness, because if he doubles his price, you have no alternative.
Yeah.
What do you do? So looking
yeah.
at suppliers are quite strategic to your business.
And on that, like your terms of business, you've got quite a lot of suppliers as well, Johnny. Terms of business, let's talk
Terms
about
of the
that.
business, like, so payment terms.
Yeah, payment terms, yeah.
So payment terms in the business side of things, we're normally 30 days. However,
Can I just ask you, how does that work? Is it
we
30
pay
days
them in
from
30 days.
so if I order anything on the 8th of February, do I have to pay for it in the 8th of March? Because that's 30 days in my head.
It's normally end of month.
Or is it end of month? So anything I order in February, I pay at the end of March.
So you can. Sometimes it's the end of the month, depending on how. So you have to be aware. Some businesses will give you the 60 days if you use it correctly. You pay after the first month, but some people will just do everything in that lump. Got to be paid by the end of the month.
Okay.
So month to month basis.
So it's important that we look at payment terms.
Yeah, you need to look at the payment terms, and then the credit rating they're giving you as well, because sometimes you don't have that money come in right away.
Yep.
And you need a starter. So whether it be £1,000, £5,000 credit limit, so that's something for more of the other sessions that I've got in front of ourselves. However, so 30 days, building that up and making sure you get the good payment terms. We tend to pay off very early, and I do this for 2 reasons. One, it builds up the rapport and the trust very quickly, and it means that we are a good client to them, because remember, everybody's a client. We're dealing with B2B, business to business. Yep. And other people tend to know that because word spreads. Oh, they're good payers. Oh, we want them. Just like we got clients, we want good payers as well. And it also separates you from your competitors. Mm-hmm. Oh, do you know, Johnny's this, Johnny's this. You know, it kind of puts people's noses out of joint, but then you're the creme de la creme. So the question you would ask yourself, starting out, do you want to become the creme de la creme, or do you just want to be running the mill of everybody else? So be different. Pay everybody quickly, as best as you can, and that will gain trust and efficiencies from that supplier.
Because I suppose when you do things like that, it's the way you show up. Mm-hmm. If they had to score you, you know, we're talking about scoring a supplier. What if the supplier had to score you?
Yeah.
How would he score you? And I think payment terms would be key. So I think it's a very, very valid point. Of course, that relates to cash flow, something we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Very important.
But it is a very, very valid point that if you can, pay them earlier. Because it does make you stand out. And
it helps as well, because if you then go to another supplier, it might be for a completely different product, but they will ask if you've got accounts with other suppliers, that they'll then go and reference you on that.
100%.
So if you've not got a good reference coming back, then you'll struggle to get accounts, and then you'll just be cash over the counter type stuff, which could be a problem for you if
longer term, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, so I would say suppliers critical to any business.
So another part then, route to market. Who's your competitors, Wicus?
I suppose I'm going to answer this two ways, Michael.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
really get fixated on who my competitors are, because you could very easily get lost in what they do. But one of the things that I do with competitors, I want to understand who I'm competing against, okay, because it tells me a lot about the market. And I would do something I call a competitor SWOT analysis. And really what that is I want to understand what they're really good at. I want to understand where they're weak, because where they're weak will give me opportunities to improve. And by way of an analogy, if I'm in hospitality and I've got a cafe, I would send my staff to go eat at other places and to see what these guys do really, really well and what they do really, really badly. And the stuff that they do really badly, I would be exceptional in that. So I would look at who is competing, and I would evaluate them once a year. I would look at who's competing, because I know that my suppliers are also supplying my competitors. So what are they doing for my competitors that they're not doing for me? What can I learn from them? And by chatting to my suppliers, they might tell me anything I want to know about my competitors. You know, they might be going, this competitor doesn't pay me. Going back to the payment example, I'm so thankful for you guys, because you pay us 30 days. But X, Y, and Z, they pay us every 50 days. Then okay, one of the key differentiations is payment makes you different. So I would look at competitors. I think it is important that you understand who you're competing against, not necessarily because you want to be like them, but you need to understand what makes your competitors tick, because competition is good. It's wherever you go, you're going to find competition.
I'll give you another one on this with suppliers, because I've done this in the past when I'm trying to look for more business as well. You can use your suppliers for more business from business to business. So let's give you an example. A timber merchants. If you're a painter and decorator, an names taper or plasterer, you could easily go into all these businesses and say, how many people, who's the biggest supplier that buys the most plasterboard every month from you, and go around all your suppliers. You're getting that information. That's an opportunity for more work as well. So I've went a little bit off topic there, but it's an important part when you're talking about suppliers, the potential to get more work from them as well, just by asking the right questions.
Absolutely, because they would also refer you. They would also know where your competitors are getting stuff from. So it's a good strategy to adopt and to look after it. But do understand who your competitors are. Don't try and emulate them or copy them. That's just bad business. Be unique, be different. But you do need to understand what your competitors are good at, what they are bad at, and what opportunity does that represent for you and your business.
And also then, like, why are your customers buying from your competitors? Let's discuss that.
That is a very, very good question. Why would your customers not buy everything from you? Why would they buy from your competitors? And that's why you want to understand what your competitors are doing better than you.
So well, I understand that to a point, but I disagree as well with it. Some people are driven by price. And sometimes you go, tough. They're not my customer. And this is back to why you need to know what your typical example of a customer is. That might not be what your competitor's doing. That might not be what you're wanting. So let them have a foot on and play with them. You're not interested. You have to get that into your mind, because when you're at the very start of the journey of business, you're just looking for that money coming in, and you see opportunities and you don't want to let them go. Sometimes you have to let them go because they're not best serving you.
That's a big one, and we'll definitely talk about that later on. We've got a couple of good episodes on that. You need to learn, but you will learn who your typical, so your good clients are.
Yeah.
And the signs are there. When you start discussing business early doors, you'll start to recognise that this is not the right client for you, and you'll end up running about daft for nothing.
So back to that point then, just to wrap that one up then. So you're talking about your competitors. How do we get why your customers going there? Because they're possibly not your customers. If you've done everything in your arse and that you are you're hardworking, you've sold it well, you're giving them a compelling offer, they might not want that.
They might just
want
buy
it
on
cheaper.
price.
They might buy on price.
Yeah,
so don't get caught up with the small things about it. Let them go.
I think back to the question, because you're just starting off, so you're early doors yet, so you maybe don't have a lot of customers, if any. But the business that you're in, the sector you're moving into, why are these customers buying from your competitors? What can you learn from that? Is more, I think, where we are at this stage.
And I suppose that's where you need to look at and we're going to touch on that in depth, is what does the customer actually need? What value do they create? But you can get that from just talking to your competitors or just talking to your suppliers who's also supplying. And it's simple questions that you could ask is, why do you think they buy from them? And they'll give you their opinion. But their opinion, what do you always say? It's like a belly button. Everybody has one. So be careful.
Just don't touch mine.
I know.
So be careful what you ask for. I think there's a lot of reasons why people buy from your competitors.
Right. Okay. So let's dumb it down now. Right. This is how I see it. You start in business, you want everybody's business. You get envious and you do get jealous. Everybody does. Why have they got that? Because everyone's shown the glossy mag, and you ask yourself, why am I not getting that? Why am I not getting that? Why am I not getting that? Look in the mirror, score yourself. It's not always about your looks, but think about everything that you're doing. Am I talking the right way? Am I arriving on time? Am I doing all just the basics, but 100% to my ability? And then if you're not getting the job, I would probably say it's down to cost. That's all it is.
Okay.
And if that's not serving you, doing it at that cost, don't do it. Let it go. Just let it go. Because someone else has done it at rock bottom price. Especially when you're starting, your costs are quite minimum. Try and keep that as long as you possibly can. So you're getting the best offering to potential customers.
So what I would take away from today...
Just a quick one before we do that, because we touched on SWOT analysis, but maybe we won't know what a SWOT analysis is.
So SWOT analysis is really something where you look at S stands for strengths, W stands for weakness, O stands for opportunity, T stands for threat. So strength is really what do they do well. The weakness is what don't they do well, where do they fall down. The O will be the opportunity that you see to necessarily improve on their weaknesses. And threats are things that are coming to you that you don't necessarily see coming. Changes in technology, things like Netflix and Blockbuster Video, for those of us who remember Blockbuster videos. And interestingly enough, Netflix offered to buy Blockbuster for $50 million. And they went, nah, this is never going to work. Look at it now. Kodak, famous example, $1 billion company. They own a patent to all digital cameras. They don't exist anymore today. So those threats, you need to be real because your competitors are facing threats as well. And you need to be aware of what the threats are in the market for yourself and for your competitors so that you could stay ahead of the curve.
And what are the threats? Like there's political threats. You don't know what's going to go with, the change in government could change. They could change policies.
We're going to explore that a little bit later because those are external risks or external threats you can't do anything about. And it's important that you know what those threats are. Change in currency devaluations, if you're importing and exporting is important. Changes in taxation. Things like, those are things that we need to know.
Yep.
It's going to be important. So if we take anything away from today, I would say for me, listening to both of you is have strategic suppliers, not just one, 2 or 3 of them. Score them so that you know who's a AAA and who's an A supplier. And I would say probably the most important thing for me is do a SWOT analysis on your competitor to understand what they're really good at, but also understand where their weaknesses are because their weaknesses presents opportunities for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, I had a quote last week, and I'm going to use it again this week. I like it. And I'll find out who it was because I can't remember, but this is your world. Shape it or someone else will.
Excellent.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Excellent.